Council operates on the basis of agreement or the assent of its 5 permanent members, who each one of them has a right of veto. And traditionally, Israel has had the protection of at least one of the permanent members of the Council, and that is why we have had a paralysis in the actions that the Security Council is able to take on the Middle East issue. And in this present war that is taking place in Gaza, again, Israel has had the support of the United States and the vote of the United States, and that's why the Security Council has actually adopted 2 resolutions, but neither of those 2 resolutions included a call for a ceasefire in Gaza.
That's right.
So that, in simple terms, that is the cause of the paralysis of the Security Council. But even more than that, I think you have a government in Israel today, which is an extremist government, whose cabinet members are committed to the expulsion of the Palestinians from their land and to create a greater Israel. So even if there was a resolution from the Security Council, it would still remain a challenge to oblige the government in Israel to implement those Security Council resolutions. So there is a double jeopardy here.
Correct, correct. And sir, so this leads me to the other question that, you know, many countries of the global south have long argued that the Security Council and the UN sort of structure itself is perhaps not relevant anymore. It was a very particular time period when the UN came into being post Second World War, and given these challenges that we face, this veto power by the powerful and rich countries of the world. So, I mean, what efforts can we make to reform this architecture, you know, especially expanding the Security Council, getting more permanent members, you know, diluting or addressing this veto power? So what, I mean, as someone who's both served as a diplomat but also knows the UN really well, so we'd like to know, what would you suggest?
Well, you know, first of all, it is correct that the Security Council is no longer representative of the broader membership of the United Nations. When the United Nations was created, there were 55 members.
Correct.
Today, there are 193 members. So the broader membership requires broader representation in the Security Council, so therefore the Security Council should be expanded. But the solution which some have suggested, which is that we should add more permanent members, is not a solution, in my view, because the paralysis of the Security Council, the inability of the Security Council to act, is not correlated to the representation on the Security Council. It is related to the veto power of the 5 permanent members. And so long as that veto power is there, adding more permanent members would only multiply the possibilities of paralysis. But because if you have 5 vetoes and you have paralysis, if you have 10 or 11 or 12 vetoes, that paralysis will become even more probable, just mathematically. Each one of those 12 will have its own interests and then will exercise the right of veto, and therefore the Security Council will be ineffective. The solution which we have proposed, Pakistan and Italy, our coalition, which is called the Uniting for Consensus Coalition, we have proposed that the Council should only expand into the non-permanent members.
Right.
And there should be an additional 11 or 12 members of the Security Council, and these should be mostly small and medium-sized countries, which are the large majority in the United Nations membership.
Right.
So that would give it representation. As far as the veto power is concerned, the only way to counteract the veto power is for the larger membership, for the non-permanent members, to also have the ability to block decisions.
That's right.
And if there is a larger membership, say a membership of 27 in the Security Council, which we have proposed, and the majority required for passing a resolution is 16 or 17 votes, most of those 16 or 17 votes will be the small and medium countries, and they will therefore have a countervailing power vis-a-vis the permanent members. And that is the way in which the influence of the permanent members could be diluted, and the ability of the larger membership of the United Nations to be able to influence decisions could be enhanced.
Right, right. That's certainly a very unique and practical proposal. But let's see whether this kind of support can be garnered within the system. But coming back to the Palestinian crisis, and what is Pakistan's precise position on the two-state, one-state solution, and what because you have been arguing the case for the Palestinians in recent months. So, what has been the sort of centerpiece of this our position?
Well, our position, first of all, is dictated by the principle of self-determination.
Correct.
Self-determination is a core principle of the UN Charter, and this is the principle on the basis of which most of the countries, members of the United Nations, have achieved independence.
Right.
Pakistan itself is the child of the exercise of the right of self-determination by the Muslims of South Asia. Therefore, we have always supported the principle. This principle is also the basis for our position on Jammu and Kashmir, which is a key and critical issue for Pakistan. It's a national cause. And therefore, it has been quite natural for Pakistan right from the start. Even as we were born, we argued for the right of self-determination for the Palestinian people.
That's right.
And we have continued to do that consistently over the years. Even though the fortunes of the Palestinians have suffered, the state which they were supposed to achieve in 1947 was truncated by the Nakba, by the expulsion of the Palestinians. Territories were grabbed. And then in 1967, Israel conquered the whole of what was then Palestine.
Correct.
So today, we are calling for the only viable solution, which is to create the two states which were promised in Resolution 181 of the General Assembly, which created Israel and Palestine.
Correct.